people get out of your way on the highway with that, or are you just one of the boys? Or
it's not big enough to be a road warrior where they got to get out of my way, but it's big enough to where I push people out of the way if need be.
That's good. That's good. I think that's a great place to start. Welcome to the Big Questions podcast, where we talk about love, death, sex, religion, and all the big questions worth asking. I'm your host, Robert K. Elder, and here today we're with my friend Jason Mroz, not Jason Mraz, to talk about basically self-perception and versus how other people see you. The Big Questions is sponsored by Shure, purveyors of professional microphones and headphones. You can check them out at shure.com. That's SHURE.com. And Jason, a lot of folks call you by another name. Let's start there. What do they call you, and where did that come from?
My nickname is Bulldog.
Okay.
And aside from the people that gave me that nickname, nobody else knows why, so you're not going to find out either. Let's just say it was earned, and we'll stick with that.
and the reason I asked you to talk about this subject, and again, it's self-perception versus the way others see you, is before we started this, I sort of talked about you having this sort of Sons of Anarchy image, and tell me what's wrong and what's right about that. So describe yourself to people.
Well, I'm 6'6", 325 pounds, covered in tattoos. I've got a foot-long goatee and 2 big holes in my ears.
And you corrected me. Those are not ear buttons. They are ear plugs, right?
Plugs,
yeah,
yes.
That shows how uncool I am.
It's sometimes it's quite funny to watch me walk into a crowd, into a restaurant or a bar, and just the way people stop and stare like they've never seen somebody that looks like me before, when I'm the most down-to-earth, friendly person you probably could ever possibly meet. Of course, I've got a mean streak, but that's hardly ever comes out.
I was gonna say, but it's hard to you don't find too many people who other people know as Bulldog like that.
Right. Yes. And quite a few people do know me as Bulldog. It's part of I'm in sales. I sell motorcycles. So I found a niche to where my outward appearance works for me. Mm-hmm. There's still that initial shock when people look at me or they stand next to me and look up and, Jesus, you're big or something like that. Yeah. And once they get over it, they start talking to me, they realize how down to earth I am and that my inner does not at all resemble my outward appearance.
But let's talk about then what was that transition where your inner sense of yourself became so far removed from what you look like? Because that contradiction is a choice on your part. It
was. I got my first tattoo when I was 17. I looked like I was 18, and it was okay for me to get tattooed. My family, all the men had tattoos. My mom was going to take me to get my tattoo. I just jumped the gun a bit. A Tasmanian devil that is now long gone and covered up.
Okay, what's it covered up with?
Actually, it's covered up with a giant picture of Satan praying with a set of rosary beads in his hand.
Okay. So a bigger Tasmanian devil is what you're saying.
Sort of. A lot of people look at it and say, wow, that's pretty sacrilegious. And honestly, if you think about it, everybody deserves a second chance, right? Mm-hmm. So even somebody who screwed up as much as him deserves a second chance for forgiveness. And God knows I haven't been perfect my entire life, but I'm trying to make up for the things that I've done. I go out of my way, that whole karma pool. If I can hold the door or change a tire for somebody, I'm going to do that, hoping that someday that those columns even themselves out of bad to good.
So let me circle back a little bit then. Was there a time then when your sort of tatted up, biker exterior matched who you were?
Yes, I guess there was. Probably in my early 20s, did a lot of bar brawling and fighting for no good reason. There may have been more of that bad boy type person in me, I guess, but I grew up, and once I started collecting tattoos, I enjoyed it, and it wasn't going to stop. And so the tattoos continued, and honestly, the holes in my ears was a challenge with my 15-year-old stepdaughter. She started gauging her ears. I said I would never do it, and she dared me that I wouldn't do it. And addictive personality. Once I started, I couldn't stop, and now they are where they are. I've got 5/8 inch holes in both of my ears that are never going to close up. So now I just don't up to it. People ask me, "Well, what are you going to do when you're 60 or 70?" Shit, I don't care now. I'm sure so I'm not going to care then either. So, I am who I am.
Well, so I want to talk a little bit about that transition, about how you became, the exterior, and when the interior started to move away from the exterior. And I also want to point out to listeners, you hear clanking in the background, and that's whenever Jason hits the table because he has rings on. So that's what you're hearing. So you're actually hearing the exterior come out a little bit. So you had maybe a bit of a temper, maybe you had a little bit of a brawling streak.
Yes.
What happened to change that? Was there a moment where that wasn't who you wanted to be anymore?
May 15th, 2001, I had a son, and it changed the way I looked at things. Realized I had more important things to do than keep kicking the shit out of people for no good reason on Friday and Saturday nights and waking up hungover. So, he really is what spun me around, responsibility wise. And I'm very thankful for that, because it was getting expensive.
Yeah. Well, and expensive how? Like expensive lawyer fees?
Yeah, when you've got lawyers on speed dial and you've already got prepaid retainers, you've got an issue.
And what about medical issues? Did you have hospital bills?
I didn't lose much. I paid a lot of hospital bills, but they weren't my own.
So I was going to say, 325 pounds.
The thing is, my girlfriend, my son's mother at the time, was always constantly on me. Why are you fighting? And honestly, I wasn't picking fights, and people would pick them with me. And you wonder, well, you see my size, you see me in person, you wonder, well, who's going to pick on that guy? The drunkest guy in the bar was something to prove.
Yeah.
Just looking for the biggest guy to prove it on. And unfortunately, that was me a lot of the times.
Well, and just from your outward appearance, I just saw this thing on BuzzFeed, and it was something like, 33 or 25 things people with tattoos have to deal with that other people don't know. And, one of them is people feel like they can come up and just sort of manhandle you. They can grab your tattoos and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's funny you say that. That has actually happened a few times. I'll be standing somewhere and somebody will, not a lot of men, women will come up and grab, right. Oh, can I see that? And they're bending your arm this way and that way just so that they can see what you got going on there. And, if they'd ask, it probably would have been a little bit easier, and I could have bent my arm the right way to show them. But that does happen, yes.
So tell me about the other things you, again, just experience looking how you look in public that people might not know.
Like I said, I walk into some place, and it still amazes me to this day, because it happens all the time. And it used to anger me that people would stare at me, but I guess I do bring a presence with me when I come in the room, and I'm over it now. But, sometimes I like to have fun with it, and I'm a jokester. I'm a prankster. So, there's been times where people will be snickering back and forth and saying something, and I'll go sit down right at their dinner table at a restaurant and grab a breadstick or something and start a conversation with them, and they have no idea what to do. They're completely freaked out. And then it breaks the ice, and by the end of the time, I'm shaking hands and passing out a business card and going along my way. And now those people are going to remember that situation and remember that a guy that looked like me broke the ice and was just joking with them, and being a prankster.
But what else did you have to go through? What else happened besides just your son being born? Because I realize it's probably a fulcrum moment, but what were the other factors that, again, sort of started to separate this image that you built from this guy you are now?
Well, I'm not sure really. I like I said, once I started collecting the tattoos, it's kept snowballing, and I was I said I was never going to tattoo below my shirt sleeves.
Right.
And then I got a tattoo on my forearm, and I thought, well, there's one below my sleeve, so I might as well finish the rest of it, And now that one arm's sleeved, well, I might as well sleeve the other one. And it kept snowballing, and I've got my back's covered, my chest is covered. I mean, I'm working for one giant tattoo. People ask how many tattoos I have no idea. I can't keep count. I don't remember, but eventually I want one big one.
Well, and I want to talk about them individually, and every tattoo has a story, of course. But I want to go back to this idea. So your son's born. You're tired of having lawyers on speed dial. So again, you're sort of separating this from the image.
So now the anger part of me that fit what I was going for by getting the tattoos and everything started changing to where I was becoming more soft-hearted and not such a hard ass all the time.
Yeah.
But the exterior kept growing to what I used to be, and like I said, it just started snowballing. Once I had it, I might as well go with it. And it's a niche that works for me in the market that I'm in. I'm in motorcycle sales.
Yeah.
When you walk into a motorcycle shop, and a guy
you don't want to see me. What you're saying?
Well, you said it, not me. But if you and I are both standing on a showroom and somebody walks in and wants some information on a motorcycle, who looks like we know more about it?
It's like, sir, if you'll just follow me over here. Yes, that's my Richard Pryor white guy voice.
It works for me.
Yeah,
and now I've built this. I've almost branded
machine,
what it is. So now I'm rolling with it. It seems to be working,
But were you the type of guy, again, when you were this angry guy, that even could have a conversation like this, have this sort of reflective conversation about what you were? So you're shaking your head no.
No, I couldn't have. I drank a lot, and every time I drank, I fought, and it was a path going to nowhere. I mean, I had some partners in crime that I was constantly with, and it was the same thing every time we went out. And they too some of them have grown up, some of them didn't. And I don't talk to those people anymore that didn't. I mean, circumstances and life changed. I grew up. Some people didn't.
Yeah.
Moved on, wanted to better myself, and some people just were stuck in that rut. And I'm in a much better place now than I was then. I owned a trucking company back then. I was making more money than somebody my age should have.
Yeah.
I didn't have guidance of somebody grabbing me by the hand and telling me to where I should reinvest this money. So I reinvested it at the bar every night.
Yeah.
And I'm sure by a lot of means I had a drinking problem.
Yeah.
I still like to tie one on, but it's definitely nowhere near what it was. A couple times a month, maybe, if that. And most of my weekends are with my kid, and, he's 13 now, and we're doing a lot more things together. And, he gets a kick out of when I pick him up at school or something, or I go on his field trips with him, the reaction of the teachers and the other kids, they look at me like, what is that guy? And my son Brain's just like, that's my dad. He's so used to watching people's reactions when we go someplace too. He'll comment on it now. Dad, did you see them whispering about you? Yeah, whatever. We're past it.
Well, but when you were this younger guy, what was the source of the anger?
It was just kind of the cool thing to do then. I grew up in I hate to stereotype, but they're there for a reason. You grow up with a bunch of hicks out on a farm, and you get bored and you kick the shit out of each other, and you brush yourselves off, and you go grab a beer and you do it again, and if there was nobody else to fight, we fought ourselves. It made no sense. It was just something to do. It was cool to walk around with bruised knuckles and a black eye.
But that seems more cultural, but that doesn't seem to have propulsion to it. Like, you weren't actively angry about something, or were you rebelling against something? Was it a reaction to something?
Man at the World.
Yeah.
The Youth Gone Wild thing, you know.
So that's a true biker thing. Like, what are you rebelling against? What do you got?
Yeah. Yeah, FTW, man.
Brando is still right all these years later. You have Satan praying with rosary beads. Where's that tattoo, by the way? On your right shoulder.
It's pretty big, actually.
So tell me about the other tattoos that have interesting stories and that inform us about you.
Well, the funny thing is, most of the tattoos that I have, I didn't want. I went in to get something else, and the tattoo artist that we were good friends, we had a falling out, but I would go in with an idea, and he would say, well, I just drew this, or how about looking at that? And it was cooler than the idea that I had, so I went with it. You know, I didn't walk into the tattoo shop intending on getting Satan praying with rosary beads in my hand, but when he showed me, it was supposed to be a dragon, actually. When I showed up there and he showed me the picture, and I was like, yeah, let's run with it. I don't give a shit what people think, you know, and then looking at it and coming up with, you know, like I said, my own analogy of what it meant of the forgiveness thing, it worked.
Yeah.
You know, and now that you've got Satan on your arm, you can't rightfully go start putting flowers and koi fish next to it. It's just not going to work. So hence the reason I've got more skulls and more dead stuff on my arm to go along with it.
I was going to say, so the left arm is koi fish? Is that what you're telling me?
No. Okay. It's just as bad as skulls and stuff too.
But is there one or two tattoos that have a story? Like, you got this because?
My back piece, I've got a big Indian on a war horse, part Cherokee, a good chunk Cherokee actually, and you know, I enjoyed the Indian Southwestern stuff, and he had a friend that drew this picture out in Arizona. It had passed away, and it was a giant picture, and it takes a special certain someone to put that big of a tattoo on it, and I had the real estate for it.
Yeah. So
I said, let's do it. You know, and 22 hours later, I've won awards with it. You know, I'm just a canvas. I mean, obviously the artist is the one that deserves a trophy, but I have won contests with it and stuff at some of the big tattoo shows.
Mm-hmm. And then, so what's the story you tell people about that? Like, I got this. What does it symbolize to you?
The heritage, you know, and with it being a warrior on a horse, you know, in some sense of the term, I see myself as a type of warrior that has gone through, you know, some pretty big battles, won and lost.
Sure.
Not just fighting, but I mean in business and in life in general. So it kind of had a special meaning.
Mm-hmm. And then what, so, you know, your dad now, you have a 13-year-old, is that right?
Yeah.
You're saying? So that is the age, you know, the beginning of rebellion.
Yes.
So what sort of, fear do you have about how your son might choose to rebel?
You know, that whole karma thing, I'm sure I got a kick in the dick coming soon. I did it to my dad. I'm sure my son's going to do it to me. You know, you just got to, I do the best I can to direction the kid down the right path, try and keep him from the things that make you angry, you know, hanging out with the wrong crowd and that kind of stuff. But I'm sure at some point there's something he's going to do to get back at me for whatever. I just got to wait and deal with it when it comes.
But you think about, you know, sort of like cultural rebels, like, you know, how do their children rebel? It's like, oh, they rebel by becoming Republicans, you know?
Yeah.
You know, it's this like cycle.
You know? I've asked my kid, I had my ear pierced when I was in 4th grade for the first time, you know, and I've asked my son, do you want to get your ear pierced? No,
because that's what you have.
You know, and he doesn't show any interest in ever wanting to get tattoos, you know, so he most likely may not follow down the path that I did.
He has no respect for the first 4 Black Sabbath records. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Couldn't even tell you who Black Sabbath was, I'm pretty sure. You know, I when I got my tattoo, I was still in high school. I was actually on the diving team, and my dad showed up and about had a coronary, and by the time 2 days later, he already knew how much it was going to cost me to have it removed. And I said, well, I didn't get it to have it removed. And then I got another one and he freaked out. And then I got a third one and he was starting to get over it. And by the fourth and fifth one, he just didn't give a shit anymore. And
you were going together to the tattoo shop.
Yeah. And, you know, it was an eye opener for my dad. We were at a Bears game when they were playing down in Champaign. Okay. And I had my shirt off and he couldn't believe how many different people, age range, men and women, were complimenting me on my tattoos. Here, he thought they were the most disgusting thing ever. But now he sees people showing appreciation for what I did to myself, and it kind of started changing his old mentality way of thinking.
Well, and you know, if you look at it culturally, it was not something that was an art form. It was something that you know, sailors and prisoners had. You know, right. It was something that.
And I look like I just fell off the page of Lockup. So,
but it was something that, you know, limited you know, your economic potential, and like that's not something you want for your son. So I think you can, you know, see that. Now, is your dad still with us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know, is he just waiting for karma to kick you in the privates? Is that like he just rubbing his hands together?
I think so. You know, I did a few things to not make life so easy on him when I was in school, and you know, he was always there for me and supported me, but I know it was hard sometimes. I probably would have turned my back on myself a few times.
That's a good cultural lesson. Now, again, looking what like this tough, gruff exterior that you have, what do people think they know about you? Like that you come up, what do they think they know about you instantly that they're wrong about?
Great example is I don't listen to heavy metal music.
Oh, really?
I'm a country boy.
Okay. Okay.
And I listen to old country. That was my grandmother raised me from the time I was 6 on for a few years because my mom worked so much. And I was raised on Grand Ole Opry and Hee Haw, you know, so I'll go up to the jukebox at a bar and people are like, oh, great. Now we don't have to listen to that country shit. And that's exactly what I'm playing. You know, that is a great example of, you would never look at me and think that I'm a country.
Yeah, that you're a Roy Clark fan.
Right. You know, so people judge my taste of music by my outward appearance.
Yeah, by the fact that you do look like Metallica's bass player. I'm just sure.
Yes. So that's a big misconception. And you know, they assume that I'm that rough and tough guy. And, you know, yes, I can be, but I'm pretty much the opposite of that. I'm you know, I've got a heart the size of the rest of me, and I'm out to help somebody else, and, you know, thoughtful, polite. Boy, that really throws people off when I use words like thank you and, and please and hold doors open for old people. You know, that, you don't see that happening much anymore in society. And then when somebody like I do it, it goes that much further.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and again, while we're, you know, correcting misconceptions, so you do belong to a motorcycle club. I'm speaking from a place of pure ignorance because my sister loves Sons of Anarchy. I've only seen it in passing. But how is the perception of what a motorcycle club is different from just the experience of being in one?
Well, it's definitely great TV.
Yeah. And I'm going to assume you guys don't run guns.
No, we don't. Yeah. We, you know, about the only truth to that show is that they're riding motorcycles.
Yes. Okay.
The rest of that is all Hollywood. But in that world, I blend.
Yeah.
You know, when we go out to another bike club party somewhere, you know, I'm the norm. My size, I stand out. You know, I mean, there's not many people that are my size, but as far as my outward appearance, when I'm in my, you know, wearing my colors and I've got my sunglasses and my bandana and stuff on, I'm the norm now.
Yeah, it's the uniform at a certain point. Yeah,
almost. Yeah, absolutely.
But culturally, like, what are they? Are there some things that they have right? I do get a sense that there's a sense of camaraderie, and
the camaraderie and the brotherhood are definitely there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what attracted me to the club that I'm in.
Yeah.
You know, I hung out with them for a while and asked a lot of questions and wanted to make sure, you know, that what I saw was true to the root in the core of everything, and it wasn't just a facade to, try and get more people in there.
Sure.
And for me, it's hard to find one person that I click with, and here I found 15 guys that I clicked with, and it was, it felt like home for me. And once I made the decision, I knew that it was a lifetime decision for me. I'm not when it comes down to it, I'm cool without my motorcycle and a patch on my back. I didn't do it for any sort of status. I did it for the sense of brotherhood and knowing that I have other people there that are willing to go the same distance for me that I would for them.
Yeah. Well, and I think people forget, Hell's Angels and, the bigger names, like people forget, like Hell's Angels is a brand. They have a national headquarters in New York. It's one of these things. In some places it's
a business.
It's a dues paying business. So, what's the name of your club?
The Fagali Tribe.
Fagali Tribe.
We've been around 60 years this year, actually. We started in Chicago in 1955.
Mm-hmm. So just tell me culturally how that world works. So I know you guys go on trips together. There are dues every year, I'm guessing?
There's dues, yeah.
Yeah. So what else? What goes into being in a club?
It's you have a clubhouse, and it's everybody's clubhouse that's in the chapter. So you've got responsibilities.
So it's like a tree house, like out in back somebody's yard, basically.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, that's our playhouse. That's where we go, and that's where we have our fun, and we don't have to worry about anybody else bothering us, and do what we want to do, and everybody's got responsibilities, to keep the house clean. It's no different than your own house. I mean, we're all.
Oh, I don't have that here.
we're all owners of it. We all have our part in it. So you do what you got to do to keep your share of the chores done and everything else.
Sure. What are the rules? Not just organizational rules, but cultural rules.
I mean, the big ones, you have to ride an American-made bike. You can't, whether it be Harley or Victory or Indian. Mm-hmm. Indian's a better choice at this point. And depending upon the club, there's that racial barrier thing sometimes too.
I don't know. What do you mean?
Some clubs will only allow, blacks or only allow whites. Mm-hmm. There are a few clubs that intermingle, but mostly they stay separate.
Right, that's a legacy thing.
Yeah.
Is that changing though?
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of new clubs that are popping up, and there's a fair amount of established clubs that I think if you were really wanting to be in that lifestyle, that there's already an established club that you can find and join. Mm. It's because of that TV show, it's become popular to be in a bike club, and they're popping up all over the place. And it's a fly-by-night kind of thing. It's a group of guys putting a patch on their back that really doesn't understand what the whole thing is supposed to be about. The family and the brotherhood and the closeness of what you have. You get a bunch of guys that are selling patches to strangers, and how do you know that guy's gonna, you get a phone call at 3:00 in the morning. How do you know that guy's gonna get out of bed and come to your rescue if need be? Sure. It's I would rather have quality over quantity, and I think that people should, if they want to live that lifestyle, if that's something that they think, I think they should really look at the opportunities that are out there. There's plenty of clubs that aren't 1%er clubs that aren't, on the FBI's radar that, that you can go and join and have fun and ride motorcycles and drink beer and, be rowdy with each other and not cause harm to society, and enjoy what you're doing.
Well, wasn't that like the Hells Angels? I'm sort of half remembering that, but they were just old fighter pilots, right? Looking for a club. Am I remembering that correctly?
a lot of the bike clubs that started were war veterans coming back in that were bored, looking for that brotherhood, the camaraderie, that they couldn't find anywhere else,
And that's why the structure is a sort of a military structure.
It is.
Yeah.
And you find a lot of ex-military guys. We've got a handful of young and old military guys in our club.
Yeah.
That is the sole reason they're there, is because that part of their life is over. And they went to war with 50 guys that they knew were going to lay down their life for them without a question, because that's why they were there. And that mentality flows over to what we do now. It's not like we're putting ourselves in dangerous situations, but you never know when you need somebody else watching out for you.
Because you still are riding motorcycles, so it's still a dangerous situation.
Yeah, sure.
What about, I remember Katie Sackhoff, who is the wife of the guy who wrote Sons of Anarchy, and I think he also wrote The Shield, and I'm blowing his name right now. But she talks about how her character, who's the strong matriarch of the bicycle club, doesn't exist in reality.
It does not. There would never be a woman that has that much pull and that much say in a men's bike club. It just does not happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and so why? So you're talking about some clubs are integrating, some clubs aren't. So why so? Why so?
Well, at the chance of sounding like an asshole, it's a man's world.
Yeah, or it's a men's club. Is that what you mean?
Well, the whole. Yes, there's a lot of women riders.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not saying that women shouldn't ride motorcycles. It's not what I'm saying at all. But in the club atmosphere, it's not a place for a woman. In my club, women are respected. They, are treated with the utmost respect, but it's a men's club.
Right.
And when it comes down to it, if you don't have a patch on your back, you have no say-so what goes on in my world.
Sure.
So that's really the biggest reason. There are women clubs. I can't remember there's one that's been around for quite a while. It's a big national club, actually, a national women's club. They wear white gloves when they ride, and there are some The Furies, that's a women's club around here, in the Chicagoland area. Sold a few of them motorcycles, ran into them out on the road a few times.
Cool.
Great bunch of women, they are doing the same thing that we're doing, and they don't want any men involvement in what they're doing. It's their time,
right?
And it kind of goes both ways.
Well, are there rules about, how because when you go on trips together with your club, you also bring girlfriends and wives.
Yes.
What are the rules or boundaries there about how everyone treats one another?
All treated with equal respect. Like I said, that was a big thing. My wife and I went on a ride, and when she saw the way that the women were respected, and they're part of the family, but when it comes time for club business or whatever, then that's just us. We're club members, you're civilians. And that's
very military-like, yeah.
That's how we refer to people that aren't in a club as civilians. We consider ourselves to be a bit special than, some of the other people that aren't, because we've done what we needed to do to earn our patch, and earning your patch goes a lot further than buying one.
Yeah.
And that's why I really don't have too much respect for the guys that are just making patches and sewing them on and not getting permission and not going through the right channels of doing what they should be doing. And there's a difference between a true MC and a Riders Association, or
sure.
There's different. You'll see different patches that aren't always an MC.
A motorcycle club, right?
A Riders Association or an RC, a Riders Club. But to be a true MC, there's rules, and there's a coalition of clubs that helps protect bike clubs and their rights.
Sure.
Well,
and I want to talk a little bit about that because, again, I think culturally people don't understand that. But when you talked about how bikers call everybody else civilians, two other groups that I know of do that: journalists and comedians.
Yeah.
Because when they hang out with, like, oh, you can't hang out with civilians. So I think it is that sort of club mentality. No matter what kind of club it is, because somebody else is always a civilian.
Yep.
So you talk about earning the patch. So what goes into earning a patch?
That is club to club specific. I mean, there's not a general set of rules. Each club has their own rules and bylaws.
Mm-hmm. But what kinds of things? Like, I'm just curious.
Getting called out of bed at midnight to bring somebody on the other side of Chicago a midnight snack just because they didn't want to get out of bed.
So hazing is what you're saying. Hazing, basically.
Yes. You're basically a bartender for a year.
Okay.
That's the biggest part of it, and there's other things that we just don't talk about that, but there's nothing there. Let's put it this way. There's nothing that I was ever asked to do that I surely as hell wouldn't do again,
right.
And everything that, if there was any type of hazing, after it's all said and done, once you earn your patch, you look back and that's the stuff that, that was the good time, now you've got it on easy street where you can, sit back and have fun and pick on the other prospects because you've earned that. But, you don't regret anything that you've done. I mean, I'm sure maybe there are some people that regretted some of the things that they've had to done, but, and one of our rules is if a member asks a prospect to do something and the prospect thinks it's out of line, he can pretty much call bullshit. And if that member doesn't do it, the prospect doesn't have to.
Oh, really? Oh, so it's more than.
So there is still rules to keep things, under control. A quick story. Had a guy that was trying to prospect for one of our chapters, and I wasn't too fond of him. I kind of saw through his bullshit, and it was 100 degrees out, and I had a bandana on, and I asked him to put my bandana in a glass of ice water for me to cool it down. And he kind of, grabbed it, like a girl. So when he brought it back to me, I wrung it out in a cup, and I took a sip out of it. I handed it to another brother of mine. He took a sip out of it. I said, now you drink the rest. We already took a sip out of it, so he had no chance to say no. And, I mean, drinking sweaty bandana water, is it really that bad? No, it's childish and reminiscent of college hazing, but it is what it is.
Sure. Well, and there's a sense of, I think part of the allure of motorcycle clubs is a sense of lawlessness, if not actual lawlessness. So, like, is there a line, or is it pretty much you just protect yourself and you try not to do anything that's questionable?
Yeah, like I said, my club's not out doing, we're drinking beer and fucking pussy. That's one of our sayings, man. That's what we do. It's just, we ride motorcycles, we hang out together, and we have a good time as a family, really, and that's really about it. If we've got 3 chapters in Illinois, 2 in Arkansas, 2 in Alabama, and 1 in New Orleans, and, there's parties throughout the year where we only get to see our Southern brothers, maybe once or twice a year, but you walk in and see a guy that you've seen twice in your lifetime, and he gives you a big hug and tells you that he loves you and great to see you. It's a pretty cool thing. It's a great feeling, to be in that environment and to have the respect of your others that are around you,
Is there a common denominator among guys who are in motorcycle clubs? So we talked about a lot of ex-military looking for that structure again. I think that some cliches for people who wouldn't know is like, okay, it's a bunch of dudes without dads. Are there other cliches that do or do not fit?
Absolutely. That's my family. I don't have a close family outside of the club. The club is my family.
Sure.
There was times that with my wife, you're spending too much time with the club.
Yeah.
I said, well, if I was going to my mom's house to help her fix her deck, would it be the same? Well, no, you're going to help your mom. Well, I'm going to help my brother.
Yeah.
in my head, it's the same thing. I don't have the mother that I'm going to go help, so whether I'm helping them or I'm helping a real family member, she couldn't differentiate that in her head, but to me it was the same thing, and once I brought it up in a different light, then she kind of backed off about spending too much time with the club. It's not my club, it's my family.
Yeah.
As much as it is my club, but it's more my family first than it is my club.
Yeah. I think after this, you need to come in and talk to my wife. No reason. No reason. So just to sort of bring this full circle, so just because of the way you look, and I think if I'm allowed to say, you sort of have outgrown, your outward perception, because your outward perception, again, is this tough guy that you sort of formulated in your 20s, right?
Yeah.
So, as you grow older, are you going to have more tools for dealing with this, or are you going to become less patient with constantly correcting people's misconceptions of you?
I'm over it. I really, like I said.
I know, but you go out and you have to work at it every day. Like it's a separate job you built for yourself.
Yeah, but I'm over the reactions. It's happened so long. I don't care anymore. It used to upset me. It used to bother me. When you had an attitude and you walk into some place and somebody's staring at you, what are you staring at? That temper would come out. But now, I guess I don't blame them for staring.
Yeah.
I guess if I walked into a room, the thing is, I've been told my entire life how big I am and this and that. I don't see it. I don't realize it. I don't know what I look like standing in a crowd. Yeah. I don't realize that I'm a chest and shoulders above most people in a bar, and that's what you see when you look at it. I've never seen myself in a bar. I've never seen myself walk in. I don't know what my appearance and my presence brings when I walk in. Yeah. It must be something because everybody's staring at me, but I don't know, so for me to not know, I can't grasp it. So now I'm over it. I don't
was going to say what the world looks like to Goliath. Basically. No, but there's an interesting corollary. So Dana Gould, who has a great podcast called the Dana Gould Hour, just this last episode talks about how that cultural tension of if someone has a word written on them, like on their back, and then they get mad at you for staring, it's like, you've turned yourself into a book. Like, yeah.
I did this to myself. I deserve it. Yeah, I can't be mad at people for staring.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't part of it to get attention? It's hard. And then you resent people for giving you attention.
Yeah, those are the people that are messed up in the head. Those are the ones with daddy issues and, would beat as a child or whatever, that just want the drama in their life.
So Jason, Bulldog, what am I missing? So we covered a wide swath here. Again, if we're correcting misconceptions, what have I not asked?
Well, I think we covered on a lot of things. I was with my son at hunting at the gun show, actually, on Sunday. And he found a sticker that he thought was pretty amusing. Mm-hmm. It said tattooed and employed.
Tattooed and employed? And employed.
That's good. For a 13-year-old to see the humor in that, he goes, "Hey, Dad, you need this." Yes, I look like this, but I make a pretty decent living and I'm really good at what I do. Yeah. And it hasn't hindered me, but I don't have face tattoos and I'm not, going that extra overboard, and society has definitely changed its thought, I think, and its perception of tattoos, because there are so many people that have them, as far as, movie stars and whatever else. And sure, they're not getting full sleeves and stuff, but there are a lot that are heavily tattooed, and it's becoming more acceptable.
Well, even motorcycle clubs, because now you have all sorts of like charity rides and that sort of thing. I think there's been this huge thing from the 60s till now where motorcycle clubs have tried to change their image.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I mean, quite honestly, I wonder if my tattoos would matter as much as if I was 5'5". being 6'6".
Again, you're big canvas.
Would I be making such a presence when I walk in if I wasn't my size? Is it my height that they're looking at? Is it my tattoos? Is it the foot-long goatee hanging off the front of my face? There's a lot of things to grab attention.
I was gonna say you have sort of hit the trifecta. So you've chosen all of them.
Yes, I figured, hell, I'm going all in.
Well, Jason, thanks for illuminating us, and you've been listening to the Big Questions podcast. My name is Robert K. Elder. Thank you for joining us. Jason, thanks again for coming.
Thank you.